So now, please warmly welcome our next guest on the stage, PhD China, to bring us this wonderful summit. PhD Jongo, Taja, 欢迎.
Can I? Oh, hi everyone. Hope you're enjoying this afternoon. Thank you for joining us as we launch our 7th publication, Merge, the closing gap between technology and us. Every couple of years, PhD will partner with some of the greatest minds across the globe to dissect the latest technological trends set to impact both our everyday lives and the marketing sphere. The inspirations in Merge come from various fields and individuals, but on the top of that list is Ray Kurzweil, Director of Engineering at Google, and one of the world's leading inventors, thinkers, and futurists. And we're very lucky to have him working alongside us. Ray draws attention to the increasing speed at which technology is evolving and puts this down to the law of accelerating returns. Technology, he claims, isn't evolving in a linear manner. Instead, it's advancing at an exponential rate. And I think we've all seen that in our own lives. So in the next couple of decades, this exponential growth will make advancements multiply so quickly that they will dwarf the developments of the entire 20th century. Of course, Kurzweil's law of accelerating returns isn't a universal law of physics. Yet, if even a fraction of this progress does materialize, then it means that we are on the cusp of the most dramatic technological expansion in history. Some of these developments can be predicted without much consideration, while others are still incredibly hard to foresee. One thing's for sure, though. Every technological development that has ever been successful has served to free us from the constraints of our daily life, allowing us to move one step further on a journey to an abundance of information, experience, and connectivity. Today, we are heavily reliant on our smart devices. I see many of you on them now. And we spend most of our time staring at screens, and our smartphones rarely leave our sides. As we continue to spend an increasing amount of time in this virtual world, we will most likely see how our relationship with technology will continue to progress. Machines will become as intelligent as us, and will reach a point where we become indistinguishable from one another. We will, both symbolically and literally, merge together. This human-technology merge started with the first basic computer interfaces even. But this was only level 1 out of 5 stages that we at PhD have identified. Merge outlines each of these 5 stages, exploring what is being developed right now and what we can expect next. And crucially, what are the important implications for marketing? So, please join me in welcoming my head of strategy at PhD, Mark Bowling, who's going to take us through the 5 stages of the merge and how you and us as marketers can assert influence by taking advantage of this transformational technologies of our time that will help us prepare for tomorrow. Over to you, Mark.
Thank you, Anna. So I'm back for those of you that saw me earlier. It's great to be on the stage here today at the ROI Festival. I know it's late. It's great to have a almost full house. Now, obviously, we're starting to think about dinner and drinks, and I'm really looking forward to that glass of wine. So, as you know, my name is Mark Bowling. I'm the head of strategy at PhD here. And this exciting topic that Anna's introduced, the merging of humans and machines, is a topic that we've been investigating over the last 6 to 12 months. So today I'm going to take you on a journey to explore where we've been and where we're headed. And in the future, therefore, how are we going to market products and how are we going to connect brands to humans? Or more realistically, how are we going to connect brands to algorithms? So let me introduce to you our concept and formally introduce the China publication of our new book, Merge.
Technology has
Okay, so we're launching the new book Merge today. So this is our latest China publication, available if you track me down. So in that video, there's lots of theories and concepts about what the future is going to hold. And I'm going to cover some of those in the short time we have today. Also, later on, I'll be joined on stage by our guest speaker. David Lee is the co-founder of Maker Collider, of Hacked Matter, and he's a director of Shenzhen Open Lab Collaboration. He'll also introduce to you a few observations about what's going on in China and demonstrate a few of the new technologies that we're seeing coming through. Now, Ray Kurzweil, you saw him in that that video there. He's the director of engineering at Google, but more importantly, he's a very famous futurist. So he said, in this quote here, that it's not the case that we will experience 100 years of progress in the 21st century. Rather, we will witness on the order of 20,000 years of progress. In other words, that means we're exponentially growing through technology, the rate of change. And if you think back to the 20th century, what happened? Well, that period, we saw the first motor car, the aeroplane, the personal computer, antibiotics, the internet, and nuclear power. So imagine all of that happened last century. And if we're growing at a faster rate and technology is moving us forward quicker, think about how much we're going to achieve in this century. As a consequence, we must realize that technology is heading directly towards us. And whereas in the past we were pushing technology forward with our human might and our human will, technology is now pulling us to the future. We almost don't have a choice but to continue on this technologically advanced path. And our book Merge takes us into that future. Because as we're going to see in the book, how we're going to access the web and access data and information is going to change over time. Phones will turn into smart glasses into contact lenses, and contact lenses at one point turn into biological implants. And it's generally accepted these days that machines will become more embedded in our lives, and the gap between us and machine will close. So logically, symbolically, and literally, we'll start to fuse together. And we'll stop referring to technology as us and them. It will be far more, this is part of me. This is a part of my brain or an additional lobe that I can use to access information. We'll also somehow have a constant connection into the sea of information that's flowing around us. In our book Merge, we have 5 stages. Anna mentioned them earlier. So we've gone back to look at where we've come from. So the first phase is surfacing. So this is probably the middle of last century. So there we saw how specific innovations commercialized technology, created personal computers, and then the dawn of the internet changed how we accessed information. So we also investigate how this has spawned an era of complete change around the world, and one of the most significant shifts that we've ever experienced, especially in the marketing business. And that stage is the stage of organizing. And here what we found was that this is the organization of information and data through search engines, browsers, operating systems, and in the later stage, apps, so apps through our devices. And there were specific innovations that helped us leap forward. And one of those that's probably the most compelling to all of us in our day-to-day lives is the smartphone. And where do we find ourselves now? We are in an extracting stage. So this is when machine learning is starting to interact with us. Now, machine learning could be just voice commands on your phone, but they're starting to advance very, very fast. On the one hand, this is representing the maturation of the data and the technology, because we have more mobile phones, we've got better Wi-Fi and data connection all around the world. It's reliable, and it helps us access what we need when we want it. And then the advancements in the technology, in the actual algorithms that are written, help us to access information through unstructured data. And it's the unstructured data that's the real breakthrough that's given rise to where we are now. So we've gone through the first 3 stages, and where we are right now is we're probably halfway through stage 3. So let's pause for a minute. We're going to look at a few fundamental areas that we've seen, but let me just introduce one more concept to you. Back in 2012, the IDC estimated that all the companies in the world had about 2.8 trillion gigabytes of data, and only 0.5% of that was being used. We weren't able to tap into what we needed to because there was so much of it, and we didn't know how to navigate. But if I'd been on this stage 5 years ago, I would have said, oh, it's all about big data. Big data, big data. We've heard it all before. But the reality is, and this quote sums it up, big data is like teenage sex. Everyone talks about it. No one knows how to do it. Everyone thinks everyone else is doing it, so everyone claims they themselves are doing it. But the reality is, big data in the past was cumbersome. It required systems and processes and structures. Whereas unstructured data, so the ability to pull out data that we need from many different sources and organize it, is what's driving us forward into this technological merge. So we have 9 fundamental areas that are going on during this extracting phase. I don't have time to spend on all of them, but let me just touch on a few of them and give you a flavor of what's both in the book, but what we're talking about at PhD at the moment. The first area is number 5. It's next wave wearables. Okay? I wear a Fitbit. Many of you have an Apple Watch on or a Mi Band. What we're seeing coming through, though, are more smart devices. This is an iPhone-enabled smart ring premiered at the recent CES, which has both fitness trackers, heart rate monitors, etc., embedded, but also it's a near-field technology. So I can unlock my house, potentially my car, access my bank account, or even share information with people through a ring on my finger. And these advances in smart technology will really move forward very quickly. These smart rings, there's versions on the market right now for maybe 120 kwai. So as we start to use these and, for example, embed microphones, we can then start to connect with our virtual personal assistants, start to give voice instructions and commands. So we'll see a lot of advances in this field. Next up is the next stage of hearables. So a hearable is obviously something you put in your ear. It can listen to what's going on around you. It can take voice commands, etc. Now, there are more coming through the market. This is an example of a smartphone that sends through the bone audio signals. And obviously, that's great. It's a bit cumbersome to have to do that. So this type of technology is here right now. What we'll see very soon is smaller earpod-like devices, or even those that are embedded behind our ears. We already have embedded bone hearing enablers for people with hearing problems. So we can only expect that they will advance more and more, and they'll be used in our modern-day living. This market is estimated to be worth $5 billion already. So, that's only going to grow and become how we live. Next up, let me introduce you to a concept which is called intelligent layers. So this is where we can start to look at video and look at content, extrapolate what's going on, and then potentially change it. So let me just pass over to Facebook, who are going to talk to you about this right now. So that's a great example of how technology can be applied into the marketing space very easily. By changing images on the fly and changing content relative to what a consumer wants to see. Of course, they're more likely to be engaged with it and hopefully interact and potentially click on a buy button or share their information. Now, we're already using some technology like this with partners such as Myriad, who I believe are in the audience today. And the future of this is tremendous because it allows us potentially to make dynamic, creative video content on the fly without human involvement. So algorithms defining and deciding what type of creative concepts and elements will be put into video content as we're streaming through our TV shows and movies on our phones and our TVs. Next up is an area that has taken a lot of flack recently. This is mixed reality. Now, we live in a world, especially in China, where virtual reality and augmented reality are part of our day-to-day. We have headsets, we have e-commerce sites that have AR enabled. But mixed reality is potentially more interesting to us as we move forward in the world, because this would allow us to almost go device-free. And one example of that I've got here, obviously this is an example of what it could look like. But imagine you're all a bunch of students sitting in a high school gym, and you've got a pair of contact lenses on, and those contact lenses have mixed reality technology enabled. So imagine you're sitting there, and then you would see this. So I'll play that again so you can see it in slow motion. It's basically a way that we can project images into the eyes that create a 3D video content and position that content in exactly the right spot within the space that you're looking at. And you can allow this to be a shared experience, which would mean, can you imagine going and watching a concert or a play with a bunch of people without having to be there? Or even better, not have to go to that client meeting because you can do your meeting via your mixed reality contact lenses. So a great way to maybe change WebEx and change business travel and make it a bit more tangible and accessible for us. So moving on to the last point, which is point 9. This is the introduction of the virtual reality web. And there's lots of new technology here. This is real-time rendering of face. Changing expressions, and potentially even language inputs and outputs. And the ability of us to be able to alter kind of robots on the screen means that customer service, which looks more like human beings, are more likely to be engaged with by other humans, because we do have a response to people and things that look more human. So that's pretty much what we're seeing happening through the extracting phase. And what we're going into next is what we call the anticipating phase, when we see real deep learning coming to life, when we have assistants that are virtual, making purchase decisions for us, organizing our calendars, and predicting our every move. Then we move into, in a sense, the final stage of the merge, when we become almost symbiotic with our technology, when the technology is embedded into us, potentially through microprocessors, which live and breathe within our bloodstream, monitoring glucose levels, monitoring our heart rate, telling the doctor that you drank too much wine last night. So it's a really interesting future when we may be combining biology with technology and not really thinking about it, and it becoming part of our everyday life. Obviously, the agency role will change, but agencies adapt. We're used to adapting. I've done this over 20 years, and agency services and the types of people we have changes over time. New jobs appear, old jobs become obsolete. Just last week, I saw a mobike repair guy, and I thought, you know what, 2 years ago, there was no mobike repair guy. It's a job that's being created by technology, and as a consequence of the fact that we've got an app and a QR code and a GPS and a bike that's been manufactured cheaply through technology, that means one guy is out there fixing motorbikes every day. So agencies will change, we'll get new roles and responsibilities, and we'll develop new skill sets. We'll also, of course, still need people who are strategists like me. Our job, in a sense, will be able to make sense of it for clients. So start to translate what the opportunities are from technology and data. And also define the parts of human behavior that are illogical. So when we're making illogical decisions or emotional responses, the strategist's role will be to explain it to clients and maybe help change the algorithm from just responding to behavior and predicting maybe an emotional response to communication. And marketers, of course, will need to keep up. We have lots of advice we could give you, but most importantly, be inquisitive. Get out there, read, experience, try the technology. A year ago, the amount of people I would meet that hadn't even tried a virtual reality headset was pretty phenomenal. So get out there and try and touch and feel. Take risks. This is here to stay, and it's not going away. So I'm delighted to have introduced the 5 stages. You can read more inside this book. We've got great quotes from our interviews with people from, say, the Facebooks and Googles, etc., of the world. So I hope you find time to read it. And if you want a copy in English or Chinese, scan this QR code. We have to have a QR code. And you can connect with our microsite. You can find me on LinkedIn, or find me outside or in the wine bar downstairs later this evening, and ask and try and get a copy. We've got lots to hand. So I'm delighted to have shared this with you. We're more than happy to talk in the future about any follow-ups and topics of interest. But first, then, let me pass over the next half of our session to David Lee. David Lee is, like I mentioned earlier, he's the founder of 2 businesses in Shenzhen, along with the Shenzhen Open Innovation Lab. And he's going to introduce some cool new concepts that hopefully will continue to blow your mind. Thank you.
Thank you. Great. Good to be here. We talk about merge. We talk about technology is going to impact our futures. But we really have to talk about is who are going to create the technology, who are going to create the object of technology. Mark just mentioned Ray Kurzweil. This is a picture drawn by Ray Kurzweil about the exponential growth of the technology in the past hundreds of years. But if we're starting to look at this, one thing is significant is in every generation of technology shift, there are more and more people can participate in this. In the old days, when the old computers, when they are predicting there's only needing 5 computers in the whole world, there's only 1 or 2 groups in the world can create computers. By the time Steve Jobs creating PC, there are hundreds, even thousands of them. We are entering the era where technology is going to be created by the mass, by the huge group of people. And in the past couple of years, we're starting with the maker movement. This movement starting about 10 years ago is swept through a lot of thinking, generate a lot of excitement. We also look at the milestones of what comes into the maker movement. People like looking at what Steve Jobs, what they have done in the past to democratize, to commoditize the innovations in these technologies. And people get so excited about the coming of the makers. Obama hosting the Maker Fair in the White House, really anticipating the emergence of the maker. And everybody gets really excited about the smart hardware in the past 5 years. But the truth is they are not the people who's going to create this. Silicon Valley is not going to be this way. There are huge potential upcoming with this merge. The 5 stage, if we look at the number, the IoT is going to reach 20, 30, 40 billions, depends on whose projection you are reading, in the next 5 years. But they are not going to be creating on stage with a high-value unicorn. They are not going to be creating in a single location. They are going to be creating everywhere. And that's the promise of the maker movement. But the concentration on a very small group of people did not deliver. If we look at a lot of announcements in the past past 2 years, this is Silicon Valley is giving up. The hardware is too hard. Making hardware is too difficult. This is Mark Andreessen, it's hard. So the Silicon Valley move on to the other stuff. Let's talk about blockchains, let's talk about AR, VR, and just for fun of it, we have a crazy uncle from Silicon Valley and a crazy cousin from Silicon Valley spitting on each other on the implication of AI, which is, well, not really generating anything in the merging scenes. Coming back in the past couple years, I have been starting the first makerspace in China, right here in Shanghai, called Xinchejian. After that, I started a research group called Hack Matters. We look into the merge of the technology, how they are going to enable by the bottom up. And that leads us to the research of what bottom-up mass innovation of technology look like. And coming back, it's a stories. It's where things happen. And this is where it happened. And it's really interesting to show these pictures because, as everybody knows, this morning is the opening of the 19th People's Congress. This is where it started. This is Shenzhen. This is a 15 fishing village in 1980s. We decided to start looking into how to change a system, how to get more people to participate. Within 3 decades, this is what becoming of Shenzhen. 2017, 15 million people is producing 90% of the global electronics. If we talk about merge, everything on merge is electronics, it's information technology products. Today, globally, 90% of them is being produced in one city. The city comes to life as a mass manufacturers. This is Foxconn, and probably in most people's mind, this is what Shenzhen look like. It's mass factories or manufacturers. And it comes to be known to the world as the crazy place with sweatshop, people going so crazy, jumping up the roof, making iPhone. But today, the entire media is covering Shenzhen this way. It's the Silicon Valley of hardware. It's the innovation hub of China, even globally, in the hardware space. What happened? What happened to a city in 10 years' time goes from a sweatshop to the innovation hub? Actually, nothing happened. This is what Shenzhen always has been the place of innovations. But instead of innovation being in the research lab, in the huge design house, innovation in Shenzhen happened on the street. This is Huaqiangbei Market. It looks like a street market, but this is a street market which makes electronics. This is a street market which makes the next generation smart products. This is the market where everything goes to scale. Everybody gets, the market goes to scale and everybody gets to participate. There's no barrier of entries. It's on the street. And one thing comes out of Shenzhen, one thing comes out of this mass participation in creation of technology objects is the phenomena of Sanzai. Many people heard of Sanzai, and many people, the thinking of Sanzai is they just copy someone. They just copy the large brand. But if you unpack what Sanzai looks like in Shenzhen, they look like this. They don't look like just another copy of iPhone. They don't look like just another copy of Samsung. They look like this. They are diverse. They fit into every need. They fit into every space where people needing the technology objects. In the middle of the pictures, there's this 7-speaker phone. This is one mobile phone come with 7 speakers, and it's as loud as a boombox. And it was created, and who use it? I give this talk all the times, and this mobile phone was created for people we see every day on the street, in every city. If you live in any city in China, you see the targeted user every day. This phone ships about 20 million units a year. 20 million units a year. And for a lot of talk I give, nobody have ever guessed what this is for. So I'm going to try it here. Who's the target user of a 7-speaker phone? Anyone wants to take a guess? It's people working in the construction site. It's 20 million units a year. This is what Sanzai means. They are creating technology objects for people ignored by the large brand. They are creating technology objects for people in every sector. It doesn't matter how niche the need is. And what's the implication of this? So today is 2017. So let's just assume, let's have a time machine, let's go back 10 years. I stand on the stage in 2007, and this is a good advertising conference, so it's good. In 2007, if anybody is standing on this stage, making the predictions, I predict in 10 years, Nokia is going out of business. I predict in 10 years, Motorola is going out of business. In 2007, or get kicked off the stage. That's crazy. 2007, Nokia is on the trajectory to be the greatest company on earth. Moto is going to be one of the next dominating company because they own mobile phone. But both of them within 5 years, one get acquired by Google, the other one get acquired by Microsoft. And now they are not even relevant. Well, I don't think even advertisers care about them. What happened? What happened is not Apple. In 2012, Apple is a small niche player in the mobile space. What happened is Sanzai. This blue area of long tail is Sanzai. In 2012, it's 300 million units of Sanzai mobile phone a year. It's 1/4 of the global mobile shipment. And that force changing the face of the entire mobile industry. And they did it again. So this is top 5 mobile phone in the world. If we're starting to look at what's going on right now, what's going on within the global ranking. The top 5 brands, Apple, Samsung, Apple, Huawei, Oppo, Vivo, or Vivo, Oppo. But all 5 of them is only 42% of the market share. Where's the other 50? Where's the other 58? What they look like? What's their name? Where are they? They are almost invisible to us sitting in this room. I mean, this is pretty much an Apple, Samsung, Huawei, Xiaomi crowd. But all of this combined is less than half of the global mobile. Shenzhen creating this, Shenzhen did this by commoditize the creation of the smart objects. Everybody can go into Shenzhen to create the object of their thinkings. Not by having the best engineering team, not by having the best design team, but having the best ecosystem to do fast introduction, market validation, and iterations into your products. So everything here is open. You can go into Shenzhen and get them, assemble them, ship them into your niche market. And this has been leveraged by many, many companies to grow their business. And this is well, this is the best way of Shenzhen distribute this information. It's on papers. This is not even digital yet, but it doesn't matter. So it comes to think about how this is enable the creation of a new brand, a new company. This is a company called Wiko. How many people have heard of Wiko? Yeah. Only people I have, when I give talk, only people have heard of Wiko is from France. This is the #2 mobile brand in French market. They bypassed Apple last year, becoming #2. And they are on the trajectory to become the biggest mobile brand in French market. And this company is only 6 years old. This is created by 4 French designers realized, well, the French market needs a good brand for between $100 to $300. But instead of say, okay, well, we want to create a whole new mobile phone to change the world. They book a ticket, fly down to Shenzhen, walk into the Huaqiangbei market, look at all the Shenzhen smartphone there, and say, okay, well, these 3 is good enough for the French market for $100 to $300 segment. They went to Shenzhen in the beginning of 2011. The company is shipping mobile phone by Christmas. And in 5 years, they overtook Apple as #2. And now it's on the trajectory to be #1. This is, well, I think they ship about 10 million units last year. And this is another brand nobody ever heard of, but it's huge. Techno, another brand people probably never heard of. Anybody heard of this company? Techno, Chinese? Yeah, 100 million unit mobile phone company. Annually, 100 million units. This is the biggest mobile brand in Africa. And if we want to talk about innovations, everybody complain about the bias of AI about recognizing dark faces. It's already fixed. Why are they fixing it? Their biggest customer are all dark skin. This is the part of things we're starting to see. Innovation is happening everywhere. Market segment, when the technology objects becoming to be massively, to be able to be created by the mass. People creating things for the niche. People creating things for the invisible. People creating things from not for just for people in Shanghai, but people everywhere. And this opportunity belongs to everyone. Nerve Mobile is a company we are working with based in Lagos, Nigeria. They starting the business by, they are a mobile phone company. And they starting the business by going on AliExpress, buying the white label mobile phone, put their logo on it, customize their software, and they bootstrap their own business in Lagos. And I think they are doing 10, 20,000 units a year right now. And just for fun of it, just to illustrate how easy it is to creating a new technology objects, we helped Wall Street Journal with this article. They went down to Shenzhen, built 20 Wall Street Journal branded smartphone in 1 week. And it cost $70 each. This is pretty capable smartphone. So we are thinking about this. We use the example of smartphone to starting to think about the creation of technology, the creation of technology objects. Who are going to create it? How they are going to create it? Where this is going to happen? It's not going to, if we have to watch out, not in just Silicon Valley, not in just Beijing, Shanghai, but look at the place like Shenzhen. Not just Shenzhen, look at the place how Shenzhen gets impacted. The French market, the African market. And Shenzhen street creating crazy objects overnight. So hoverboard, creating out of nowhere, going from 0 units in 2014 to a 14 million units market in 2015, a $3 billion industry. And everybody thinks this market disappear. It's not. It's a $5 billion industry today. This is the power of the street. This is the power of the mass creations. And this is actually interesting, is nobody are watching. Nobody will be predicting the emergence of a $5 billion hoverboard industry, but they are here, and they are growing. Skip this. So it really comes down to how this happened, how when technology becomes commodity, when everybody can do it, the innovation process is different. The innovation process is not looking at, let's come and learn what's the latest, but let's come and learn what's the latest application, not the technology. Who are using it, where they are using it, how they are using it, what the team look like, what's their application. This is called adjacent possibility of innovations. Standing on what's possible today, let's explore every possible path. The path of exploration was expensive before, but right now it's cheap. Right now it's available. Right now it's affordable to everyone. And for that case, we're starting to think about when this merge is going to happen. It's not going to be coming out of some Silicon Valley company. It's coming out from everywhere. And this brings back to this. This is massively cooperative innovations. This is the place enabled by open cultures, by collaborative cultures. Well, I'm going to skip. So if we're going to think about how this innovations is going to be, how this new path of innovations is going to be constructed, it's Belt and Road. The Belt and Road is not just about spreading the Chinese infrastructure over to Eurasia, Middle East, Africa. It's about connecting the community. It's about connecting people who's making things to people who has ideas, and help them to realize the idea. The entire Belt and Road is going to creating such a huge uptake of technology. Most of the IoT is going to happen first on the Belt and Road countries before it's going to happen in places like Shanghai, in places like Shenzhen, even before it's going to happen in a place like London or Silicon Valley. Important new hardware and merge will come out from here. With that, the creation of new technology doesn't have to be practical. They can be just stupid.
Alexa, what's the weather?
Currently, in Cambridge, it's 45 degrees with showers. Tonight, you can look for rainy weather with a low of 43 degrees.
So AI is not that hard. Everybody can participate. Thank you.
Cool.
Thanks.
Thank you, David. I hope this has been an informative session. You're almost at the end of your day. I hope you enjoyed the final session. Thank you for your participation, and track us down if you have any more questions or want a copy of our book, Merge. Thanks.